timeline for all of those that are not here. We'll be sure that the recording is going currently. So we'll have those that can refer back to it. All right. So welcome to the Region 32 LTR Regional Championship. This is the official technical meeting for the event. Thank you to everyone who is here. Please ensure that your microphones remain muted. You can use the chat to get your questions in. We have Adrienne Beauchamp monitoring the chat, and she'll flag anything that comes up. We can bring that up and discuss it as we go through this. And we'll have an additional dedicated period at the end for any other questions. Just to quickly outline the members of the team. So I'm Matt Richards as jury president for the event. The USAC judges are Catherine Richards and Joel Fisher. Hey, Joel. Head scorekeeper is Adrienne Beauchamp. Isolation coordinator is Hannah Marita. Volunteer coordinator is Jen Grossman. Head route setters are Luke Bertelson and Dustin Payne. Head belayer, Tiffany Bertelson, and the other regional coordinators in attendance are Bayan Suleiman and Rushir Sarah. The first thing we want to discuss is the map of the gym. The athlete entrance is up on the northern side in that corner. It is incredibly important that all athletes and ISO coaches are immediately heading in that direction and not lingering in front of the main entrance. The main entrance is obviously for everybody else, so spectators, non-ISO coaches, any volunteers, etc. So be sure to let team members know, relay this information throughout each of your team families that any athletes are immediately heading towards that location. There are windows looking into the gym, and we do not want anybody lingering or loitering, looking through the windows, trying to get any information about the routes. All right. This is the general layout of the gym. We've redacted any really meaningful information from this. So for those that have been in the Rocks and Ropes gym before, this is the general layout. As you come in, you'll have the wall basically in front of you and then spread throughout to your left and right. And the bouldering area is kind of over to that right-hand side of the map as you see it. And that is where ISO is located. That's really all there is to discuss there. Basically, the entirety of the gym climbing area is being utilized for the comp. All right. Just wanted to call out as a point of emphasis on the map that we looked at previously, the external map of upon arrival to the gym. Any athletes that are walking through that main entrance are going to be immediately disqualified. Can be disqualified. We will obviously evaluate the scenario, but it's incredibly important that this instruction is being followed. We've had instances in the past where this has occurred. It's always difficult to handle as the head judging team. So please just follow the instructions and just immediately head towards that athlete entrance. All right, so key points for competitors for this event. First thing is being on time to ISO. We see it happen regularly. It is so important that all team members, all the team coaches, everyone is paying attention and guiding their athletes to their respective entry windows. There are 3 different window sessions because there's 3 different sessions of the event. So watching these windows carefully, understanding those times, having them logged down, planning your days accordingly is just critical. There is essentially no exception for entry into ISO after the window has closed. So there's really nothing to discuss, but we do ask that if something occurs that the head judging team be informed. So my personal information is available to be reached out to in the case that something is happening. But there's really no exception that could be granted. So it's very, very important that this is adhered to. Other points. Yeah, please don't look through the windows into the gym. Of course, traffic is always a thing. This is graduation weekend for U of A. There's going to be a lot of individuals and activity around the area. So do plan accordingly. Give yourself plenty of time. bring a book, relax, get to where you're going in advance. Traffic cannot be a thing here. To ensure a smooth check-in, make sure that you're getting waivers done. This is going to be a point on all of the following slides for all of the different groups that are in attendance. Do your waivers, please. Be sure that you're aware of where you're going. Bring everything you need with you for competitors. This includes your shoes, chalk, water, snacks, first aid supplies. Bring everything with you because once you're in, you're in. No connected devices per usual for ISO format. So this includes phones, AirPods, smartwatches, anything with Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Keeping your items with you at all times, making sure that you're keeping tabs on things. Anything that's left in the isolation area as you enter the competition area cannot be recovered until the end of that session. So plan accordingly. All right, for coaches, please ensure that not only are you registered for the comp through Sport80, but kind of having the account open and ready on your phones. This is going to be our primary means of paying the appeal fees if there are appeals. So just having it kind of ready, fresh, open in your browsers, so that way it's easy to utilize in advance of the competition. Getting your waiver done. Just as a reminder that only certified level 1 and 2 coaches are allowed to perform actions as coaches during the event. And then only level 2 coaches are permitted to enter ISO. This will be very clearly and strictly enforced. We'll be checking all coaches in as part of that entrance into ISO. Let's see if there's anything really important to call out here.
All of that.
All of it, yeah. So, all right, anyone who is in a pending status, any coach in a pending status for level 2 needs to get that addressed in advance of the competition because there's really no exceptions that are going to be granted there. Do not enter the competition area prior to entering ISO. Let's see, you can leave ISO between sessions, but just know and plan accordingly that the windows are tight. So there's not going to be a lot to be achieved during those gaps, but we also don't want to lock up ISO coaches all day. It's tough to do that. And then lastly, if there are any coaches that are trying to get food into ISO during those intermission periods, we will permit ISO monitors to kind of courier those food deliveries. So plan accordingly, communicate with the volunteers that are there in the isolation area. No communication with route judges for those coaches that are in the competition area, except in a situation where a technical is going to be called. And we will discuss the calling of technicals and appeals in further slides that are further down in the presentation. All right, spectators. So waivers are required. There is no spectator fee for the event. Video is permitted, of course, but please no live streaming of any type at any time during the event. And do not share videos publicly on the day of the event. Being a good spectator means shouting no beta, no communication with climbers that are in the competition area, climbers you should be interacting with, period. And this includes non-verbal. So really try to just keep your distance. Obviously, the love is in the air. You can give that support once they've exited the actual competition area. And please don't communicate with route judges at any time. There's really no reason for it. Please bring your positivity and energy. We want to see a lot of cheering at this event. It's going to be fantastic. All right, volunteers. We are still short on a few volunteers. I believe it's judges primarily in those sessions and lead belayers in sessions 2 and 3. So please reach out to your friends, connections, get anybody that you know is going to be in the area or coming to the event to consider whether they might be able to find a way to volunteer, especially for one of those 2 sessions later in the day.
Can I just make a quick clarification?
Of course.
Just a quick clarification. I know that there's been some confusion around the lead belay requirements for this event. The gym will not have the ability to lead belay test volunteers. So they're asking that if you're already a Rocks and Ropes certified lead belayer, that's fine. If you are not currently Rocks and Ropes certified, they are asking that you have kind of a USAC endorsement, whether that's a formal USAC endorsement or whether that's Rick, who I know is on this call, has belayed with you before and knows you, whether one of the other belay team has belayed with you if you've belayed at a regional or divisional level comp for us before. That's kind of what they mean by endorsement. So please do sign up if that applies to you and you've been hesitant. And if you have questions about that, please do reach out to us, because we really, obviously we can't put climbers on the wall if we don't have someone on the other end of the rope. So please do consider signing up for those sessions if you can. If you're a junior and you're on this call and you're willing to belay some climbers later in the day, we're open to that as well.
Thanks, Catherine. All right, I just want to call out that Rocks and Ropes has been very generous with the incentives that they're offering for volunteers at this event. So that includes 2-day passes or a 20% off one retail item coupon. And if you're doing multiple sessions, you can do one of each. So it's a very cool offer that is pretty unique to what Rocks and Ropes is doing. And obviously that should be relayed as part of encouraging anyone to sign up that still is considering it. The doors won't open for spectators until all volunteer slots have been filled. On the day, waivers are required. Enter to the front main entrance. Snacks and coffee are being provided, which is another great thing that the gym is doing. So much appreciated there. And be sure to bring your USA Climbing official shirt. We also will have some that we're bringing to the event. So if you're still short a shirt, we will get you one when you arrive. And then there will be a judge's briefing at the end of this presentation. And then, of course, there will be a judge's briefing on the day for each of the 3 sessions. And yeah, that's good. All right. Basic concepts here with this event. This is 3 routes per category, 1 attempt per route, 5 minutes per climb, 10 minutes of rest between each climb, and then 30 seconds of preparation time. If you have any questions about the route, you can direct them to the primary judge on that route. There's no promise that they're going to be answering your question, but they will at least acknowledge you and give you a reasonable answer. The primary judge will be presenting your score at the end of your attempt, and no beta or communication should be exchanged between you and any other competitors, coaches, or parents in that competition area. The top 13 competitors in each category will advance to divisionals, CBA, and junior. Excuse me. And also, just as a note, that there could be extra advancements there. Awards will be presented at the end of that event. All right. So, general comments. The timer will be running in the gym, giving the climbers at each route an indication of how much time is left on their attempts. Artificial aid. These are the things that are off limits for each route. That'll include any red tape for holds or structures beyond that tape, but the wall would be considered in use. Black tape is no use beyond the tape period, including the wall. We will tell you on Saturday if your particular route or category has black or red tape present. T-nut holes in walls and structures are always off. Clip bolts, etc., cannot be used except for clipping.
Can I interrupt really quickly?
Sure.
Just wanted to clarify that awards for all 3 sessions will be at the end of the day, not at the end of each session. We don't have time between sessions. So awards for all 3 will be at the end of the day.
Yeah, that is a bit of a unique aspect to this event.
Ready?
All right. Scoring. Control means that a competitor has made use of some object structure to achieve or change a stable body position. Use means that a competitor has made use of some object or structure to make both a progressive movement of their center of mass or hips and a progressive movement of either or both hands towards the next scored handhold. This will result in a plus score. Reaching with one hand while falling or without positive body movement will not result in a plus being awarded, and obviously the same concept applies of it being the next scored handhold. The route judge will show the climber the score at the end of that attempt, and live scoring will be viewable at the link presented, and there will also be QR codes posted up throughout the gym. All right, so with appeals, this is kind of our final position going into the event. Not to say that there's anything particularly unique going on here, but we did want to clarify and articulate a few points. The first one is notifying the root judge immediately. Obviously, if a head judging official is in the vicinity, flag the head judging official. But you can always approach, well, sorry, I should say always, a climber or a coach in the competition area can engage the root judge in order to call a technical. And so that's something that can be coordinated, and then the primary root judge would then flag down a head judging official to engage and assist in that situation. In regards to some of the scenarios that could be faced here, if a climber continues climbing through blood or a spinning hold, the technical is not going to be granted. So, and I think typically the way we should envision this is that it's typically a scenario that's going to result in a fall. And that would be one where we'd look very critically at that technical call. But typically, if you're facing something like that and you're able to climb through it,
Or if you choose to.
or if you choose to climb through it, I should say, then that technical has essentially been waived. So an appeal must be made by a competitor or a USA climbing certified coach. And parents cannot file an appeal, just as a point of clarification, but may accompany the coach and climber as part of that process. If the desired outcome of an appeal is a change to the score awarded, it can be filed at any time during the competition before the appeal deadline, which is very clearly expressed in the live scoring. If the desired outcome of an appeal is another chance on the climb, it must be brought to my attention or Catherine or Joel's before the next competitor begins their attempt. So either the competitor or certified coach may tell the root judge they wish to call a technical, and the root judge will locate a head judging official. Technical appeals are not guaranteed to be granted, of course. So in the event that a coach calls a technical, the root judge will immediately call down the climber and terminate their attempt. That's the way this needs to happen. If the climber chooses to continue climbing, or if that communication can't effectively get through, that technical is deemed to be rectified, because there's really nothing more that can be done, and the advantage has essentially been gained at that point. Okay. All right, so a couple other points to make with the appeal process. The appeal fee for this event is $100, and we are strongly encouraging and preferring that that fee be paid through Sport 80. If it comes to it, we can accept cash, but we would strongly discourage that. So the appeal outcomes that are possible on an appeal form is that it's upheld, in which case the call is overturned and the fee is refunded. If an appeal is denied, this is obviously done through the appeal jury, then the call on the field remains, the fee is retained by USA Climbing. Appeal is undetermined, appeal jury doesn't have any evidence to make a decision off of, or cannot see clear evidence to overturn, then that fee is refunded. And that refunding process is handled by me post-event. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really needs to be called out. I just want to encourage, if there are any appeals for the, this is especially for the coaches on the call, it's incredibly important that you're thinking through the rule book as you're filling out that appeal. I can see, a lot of times that block where you're citing the rule book can get kind of frustrating, and it's something you don't really want to have to deal with, but it kind of is fundamental to the whole process. So I strongly encourage that all the coaches are kind of prepared, thinking through the LTR section of the rule book specifically in advance, and then being prepared to actually cite the paragraph and not just kind of write whatever in there, which seems to sometimes be the case. So another really important point for this event is that there is no official video. And so what that means is that for all the teams, please communicate throughout your teams to encourage coaches and parents to be recording video of each of the routes. So if an appeal is filed, a parent coach may choose to send an unofficial video to myself or Catherine or Joel. Head judging officials will not review a video before an appeal is filed. So please do not come to us with a video to look at to decide whether to appeal. needs to happen in the right order. So what that means is you fill out the form, you submit it to one of the three of us. We will then request that you provide the video, you send that to us, we will go off to a different area, and then three of us can review it. Two of us, excuse me. And then let's see, obviously sharing a video does not have any implication in it in terms of guaranteeing a successful appeal or anything like that. And obviously, you know, this is a point of emphasis down at the bottom here. The video must clearly and convincingly show that a mistaken judgment was made by the root judge.
Before we move on, can we just check, Adrienne, I think we got everything from the chat about appeals specifically. Is there anything else? Are there any other questions on appeals, or very importantly on the no official video? Is everyone clear on kind of the implications of that? Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I mean, just as, you know, I don't know if it's said in here, but ideally that video that's being provided is start to finish for the entirety of the attempt. There's no clipping. We can see very clearly from the start of the climber leaving the ground to the termination of the attempt. So be sure that we're getting that continuity in the video. All right, any final call for questions? Anything else that's come to mind? Anything that deserves a little bit of clarification?
There was one question also from Rick Shar. Thank you, Rick. It was a good point. How juniors can lead belay if there is no lead belay testing by the gym. If they're a rocks and ropes junior, if they're a rock solid junior, if they're a junior who climbs anywhere else and just happens to train at rocks and ropes. I know that a lot of climbers, you know, train at different gyms. That would be, I think, the easiest way to do that. It's not that the gym is being stubborn and refusing to lead belay. It's a small gym, and they are using every inch of wall space for competition climbs. So there physically isn't a space on the wall to do a lead belay test. Sorry if that wasn't clear in my initial kind of throwing it out there that the juniors could do that. They would need to be already lead belay cleared at rocks and ropes. It's a question about the start list. They will be posted, the start list will be posted this evening or tomorrow morning, sometime after the conclusion of this meeting.
All right, final slide before I'll turn this over to Catherine for the judges meeting. And obviously for those that we're just here for the technical meeting, feel free to drop after this. So volunteer sign up is at this link, and questions that come up before Saturday, please reach out to the Region 32 email account. And any questions that come up on the day, just look for one of us. We'll all be in our black polos, I believe. And
Hannah's is blue.
Oh, Hannah's is blue. I didn't realize that. Sorry, Hannah. And yeah, we're all looking forward to this event. Good luck to everybody. This is a really great milestone for Region 32, and let's all have some fun.
Great. So yeah, if you are judging, please stick around. If you are not judging, but you want to hear what we tell judges, you're welcome to stay. And if you are none of the above, then please feel free to drop off, and we will see you on Saturday. Okay, so we're gonna switch gears a little bit. I don't know how many, we got a few people sticking around, and it's being recorded too, so we'll just keep going. Awesome. So lead and top rope judging. Oh, we're turning it. We want consistency. Can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Thanks. We want consistency, as always in judging. We want consistency. The same standards apply to all climbers. Looking really carefully at the movement of the body for those pluses, because we want those pluses to be applied consistently. So then let's thinking about the day of, we're looking at climber flow. It's going to be primarily the responsibility of the assistant judge, making sure that it's the correct climber. They're being escorted out from ISO and they're being directed to their next climb. So you should always have the next climber at the right time, but just confirm their name. learned a tough lesson at one of our QEs this year, don't say, "Are you Catherine?" because the climber isn't listening and they'll say yes, even if that's not their name. So ask them their name and get them to engage with you and give them your name to make sure that you have the right climber in the right seat, ready to climb at the right time. When it's their turn, coordinate with the belayer to make sure that they know they can start, but also that the belayer is ready. They cannot start until the belayer is ready for them to start. So as a judge, just make sure you're coordinating with the belayer between you to give that climber the go-ahead to start their route. As far as judging etiquette, really quickly bouncing back, I really appreciate people giving me little feedback on things that I forgot. They will also be wearing bibs, so they'll have numbers on. So assuming that they have the correct bib on, you'll be able to match that up with both the phone and the score sheet. And if a climber is not wearing a bib, please alert one of us as soon as possible. As far as etiquette while you're being a judge, you cannot really be a parent while you're being a judge. You got to pick one at a time. If your climber is climbing and you need to be relieved, please ask one of us and we will arrange for coverage. But while you are being a judge, we need you focused on that climber on the wall in front of you or on your climb. No video or photos either at your station or at a route either side. No cell phone use other than for recording scores. That's partly for looking professional, but it's also partly to preserve our bandwidth so that everyone can access the judging module and the scoring module. Minimize conversation with the competitor, confirm their name, answer their questions. Like Matt said to the competitors, they're allowed to ask you questions, but the answers should be pretty brief. We want to avoid giving any kind of additional information or advantage to a climber. Where possible, lean toward a yes, no, or a look at the wall. Where's the top? Look at the wall. Where's the first clip? Look at the wall. Just try and keep it as kind of unbiased as we can. No cheering or applause for any climber, whether they're on your climb or not. Even if you don't have a climber actively climbing on your wall, if they fell or they finished already and there's a climber next door, no cheering or applause for them. It's really hard not to do that, but we, again, want to avoid any appearances of bias. And just really respect the athlete on your route by giving them your full attention. Things that are important to know for lead top rope scoring, we'll definitely cover these in the kind of pre-session judges meetings on Saturday, but things to just think about. It's kind of funny coming off boulder season and going into lead top rope. And if you haven't judged yet this lead top rope season, just some things to think about is, what defines control, what defines use, what does constitute giving that plus and what doesn't, and what constitutes a top in lead versus top rope. So with lead, it's clipping into that top protection point, and in top rope, it's really controlling that top hold. The kind of differences there. With one hand, controlling it with one hand. They don't have to match, although most climbers do. And I actually had a couple of coaches tell me that they tell their climbers to match with both hands just to really demonstrate control. So, but one hand is enough. Safety holds, which will be indicated with blue crosses, should be pointed out to climbers. We have worked with Rocks and Ropes a bit and they have not used safety holds. I don't know if they plan to use them this weekend, but we will tell you that on Saturday morning. If a climber is going to miss a clip, the judge and the belayer should not really be telling them that they're going to miss their clip unless it's a safety concern. At that point, the belayer usually will be the one to say, climber, please make your clip. But it really needs to be a safety issue rather than a scoring issue. Because if the climber misses a clip, that is cause for termination of their attempt. So we almost want to let them make that mistake unless making that mistake becomes a safety issue. And this is a really nuanced thing that is hard to explain, but I think when you're watching it, you get an idea, and the route setters will be there to point out, here's roughly where you're going to need to be to make that clip. And if you see them edging past that, that's going to be an issue. Z-clips can be done, but they must be corrected. The judge or the belayer, whoever sees it first, may call out a Z-clip. The climber needs to do whatever they need to do to fix it. Their score will remain at the highest point before the Z-clip until that Z-clip is fixed. Usually that means down climbing and correcting it. And per USAC and this gym, back clipping is acceptable for lead climbing. That does vary gym to gym, but per USAC, it is acceptable. Once the time is ended, if the clock runs out and the climber is still on the wall, call them down and note their score at the time their attempt expired. So if the clock gets to 0 and they are reaching for a hold, note whatever that score would be as if they fell, because the score at time equals 0 is going to be their maximum score, even if they go on to top. But we do want to make every effort to call them down in that situation, just so they don't burn energy if they still have climbs left to complete. We're just going to really quickly go through the scoring module. I'm just going to speed through this, but I think it does help to at least have an idea of what you're going to be looking at. I'm sure no one on here has never seen the scoring module before, but we're going to be recording it in the standard 2 ways: the primary judge on their phone, the assistant judge on the score sheet. We're going to have the QR codes on the score sheet that the primary judge can scan into with their phone. There is a manual way to do that, but scanning in through the QR code is definitely the easiest way. We always want to confirm that everything matches where you believe you're meant to be. This is actually for a, I don't think this is for the format that we're doing. So it will look a little bit different in terms of the lane and the attempts, but the key things are you're going to select your climber and your route. The route should be pre-populated based on the QR code. The climbers will be in the same order that they will come out, and you do have to select that climber each time. Although we have a rotation timer running in the gym, we are still requiring times be recorded through the scoring module. That's in case of technical appeals. We want to know how long the climber was on the wall for, not just that they got this score within the 5-minute period. So as soon, well, we'll get to that next, I guess. Once you select the climber that's up next, you're kind of ready to start scoring. See. So once the 4th limb leaves the ground, there's no official starts in lead top rope. So once that 4th limb, typically the 2nd foot, comes off the ground, the green play button will get pressed, and that starts the count, the timer. As soon as the attempt is terminated, so once you hit play, that turns to a red stop button. And as soon as the climber's attempt is terminated for whatever that reason is, you press stop, that records the time, and then you can manually enter the score. So a climber's attempt is going to be terminated by achieving a top, by falling, by them calling a technical, or by their coach calling a technical, having their attempt verbally terminated, and that could be for a safety issue, for a rule violation, running out of time in the climb period. And then no need to press reset. This is a live system. It doesn't always feel like it's tracking what you're doing, but it is. So don't use the reset button unless you accidentally put the score on the wrong person. As long as you are in the active climber, there's no reason to do that. Just use the start and the stop and logging the score. And the score is manually entered. So you do type in the word top in all caps, or 32 plus. So you do have to manually type that. There's no drop down. So as Matt covered, Matt has a question.
Actually, I have a comment.
A comment.
One thing I just wanted to include was that there's functionality in the scoring app for a topo to be pulled up, right?
Oh, yeah, there is.
And
we'll show them how to do that on Saturday to show the climb of the score.
yeah, that'll be demonstrated, I think, as scoring goes into training mode. And so we can talk about that on the mats as judges are assigned to the routes. But that's actually the optimal way to share a score with a climber. So hitting that topo, there's like a picture icon, and you hit that, it pulls open the topo, and it actually shows the position that they were at on the route. And that is a very clean way of demonstrating to the climber their final score and result. And it's really useful for them because they don't want to actually understand the topo sequence. They just want to see, they know where they were on the wall when they came off, and that's good enough for them to be able to verify. So using that functionality is really important. And it's been something that I think hasn't been fully informed of throughout the season. So let's make sure that we're using that functionality for this event.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the other thing it does is it doesn't show that climber anyone
Right.
else's score. If you show them the score sheet or the actual paper topo, oh, we're recording scores 3 ways, also on the paper topo. It shows other climbers' scores, whereas that digital topo really does just show theirs. And we will go through marking up the topo from a scoring perspective on Saturday as well when I have one in my hand. Technicals, as Matt shared with the competitors, they must be called immediately. Don't let anyone else climb, call a head judging official immediately. So Matt, myself, or Joel. So if the climber is on the wall, turns around and says, I want to call a technical, great, the belayer can let them down and we will deal with it. A coach may also ask you to call a technical, and in that case, we are going to ask you to attempt to call the climber down. If the climber, after everyone's best efforts, either chooses to keep climbing or I guess doesn't hear, it's definitely a possibility. Please still call one of us over and we will handle it. But in that situation, don't let anyone else get on the wall, because we want to make sure that that climber is given or coach is given the opportunity to file that technical. So blood on the holes, spinning holds, a failure in the timer system are all things that you might see a technical called for. If we had one example in a QE this season where it was really tricky to get the rope through the drawers, it was really tangled and it ate about 40 seconds of the next person's climb time. That may be something where the climber chooses to call a technical because they feel like they're at a disadvantage. So any of those things, call one of us over immediately and we'll evaluate what the next steps are. Bleeding, as again, we've mentioned, they're expected to carry their own first aid supplies and be prepared to patch themselves up during their climb time. I think everyone has a little bit of an exception for D climbers because they're small. But if you see something and you're not sure what to do, again, let one of us know. And certainly if it's anything more serious than a little scrape, let one of us know so we can determine if the EMT is needed. There will be an EMT on site. Obviously, if they start bleeding while they're on the wall, they can keep climbing, but they do need to get that, call a route setter to get that cleaned, and they do need to get that under control before their next climb, because we do have not multiple attempts, but multiple climbs. Spectators, that's anyone on the other side of the stanchion. So the field of play is going to be demarcated by stanchions. The only people on one side of the field of play or in the field of play are judges, climbers, maybe some route setters, belayers. Anyone on the other side of that stanchion is a spectator, even if they're there as a coach. They should not be communicating. I've told parents at QEs, imagine there's a wall here. We did have one ISO QE. Imagine there's a wall here and you can't even see them. There should be no communicating with anyone in the field of play, whether that's judges, competitors, and like Matt said, that's verbal or nonverbal. At this level, it's really important that parents and siblings and coaches are following that rule. This is a championship event. We don't want to be disqualifying climbers, but we are, even at the QE where we held it as ISO, we did take this really seriously and we want to continue to do that. So if you see that kind of thing happening, please shoot them. I like to think shoot them a look and let them know that you saw it happening, and then make a note on the score sheet, maybe next to the climber's name, and then call one of us so we can come and keep an eye and see what's going on. It's very rarely intentional, but we just want to discourage that, because as you go through these levels, you know, we really want to be preparing climbers for the expectations. And certainly if you hear beta, if you hear put your right foot up next, or, you know, whatever that might sound like, tell them that that is not acceptable and call a head judging official over. Thank you for volunteering. We should have said that first, but thank you for volunteering. We really do appreciate it. And as you know, we can't run these competitions without you. Just a few things to consider before Saturday. Please bring a fully charged cell phone, and please do that even if you're an assistant judge, because we might have to do some shuffling. So we don't want to assume that only primary judges have their cell phones with them. It can also be an iPad, anything that can connect to Wi-Fi. If you already have a shirt, like Matt said, please bring it. We do have a limited number available, but if you already have one, we'd love it if you could bring it. If you're not a certified judge, please make sure you have a USA Climbing non-covered volunteer membership. You can do that through your Sport AT account. Please do your waiver like everyone else. Everyone needs a waiver to enter the facility. And especially if you haven't judged any lead top rope, or if you haven't judged any isolation format lead top rope with the topos this season, please watch the videos available. This link says bouldering videos, but if you go about halfway down the page on this particular page, it does actually switch to lead top rope videos. And if you have about an hour between now and Saturday and you don't already have this, get your level 1 certification in lead top rope. It's pretty easy to go through. It's some basic videos. You'll be able to, and it's through your Sport AT account. You just access the USA Climbing Education Hub. You could do boulder at the same time, and then you're ready to go for next season. But consider that if you have some spare time, or maybe over the summer, it's a great way to really learn the rules a little bit better than I can explain them, see some great examples, and really be on the path to a certification. So we're grateful for everyone's time and volunteering, and that's it. Does anyone have any questions? We'll go into a little bit more detail about some of the nuances about beta breaking, the topos on Saturday, as well as the pluses. And obviously on Saturday, we'll have an idea of, are there any safety holds? Are there any matches? Are there any bridges? All of the fun things that make a topo format really fun to follow. Joel, Matt, anyone else on the call? Any additional things?
No, I think this is a great outline, and this will kind of get everyone in the right mindset going into the day of the event.
It'd be funny if Joel was like, actually, I had something really important that you missed.
Well, since you mentioned it, no, I'm just kidding. You guys did a fantastic job.
Thanks, Joel.
Very informative.
Great. Well, with that, I think all of these questions are from the main. Yeah, these are all from the main technical meeting. So with that, unless anyone else has additional questions, happy to stick around, but we appreciate you joining us this evening, and we'll see you on Saturday.
Awesome. Thank you.
You could stop recording.